Hey y'all, welcome back to Score Tarot. I wanted to check in with you all this week because I wanted to briefly come in and talk about. Have you all been seeing it's kind of trending online where there were some students, I guess, some like high school students that were at a some sort of rally, a political rally, which I don't know why students would be at a political rally, but they were, and they asked those same students to read like a paragraph that they had on like a card or something. And the students, like, they couldn't read it. And it wasn't anything that was like complex. It wasn't anything that was basically they should have been able to read it. If they were reading at grade level, which, like I said, a lot of those students in this particular clip that was filmed that is going around social media right now, a lot of those students were like high school, or maybe I'm pretty sure they were high school. I was going to say maybe junior middle school, but no, they were high school students. And some of them said, they gave up while they were trying to sound out words, and they said, I can't read. I don't know why I even like tried to do this. And that, you guys, that almost made me cry. Like, for real. That is pathetic. That is such a failure on the parts of, like, teachers, no, first, parents, teachers, school officials, politicians, like everybody, society as a whole. Like, it seems to be, and I've been seeing, and I think I've talked about this before. I've kind of mentioned it before, but there seems to be people in the know that are sounding the alarm on there being like a serious problem with our students and people not knowing how to read. And like the saying used to go, reading is fundamental. If you can't read, I believe there's statistics that say you are so many times more likely to be incarcerated. If you, I believe it's for third, I think they did a study on third graders, and I may not have all the the specifics of this story right, but I got the gist of it correct, which said that third graders that are not reading on grade level by the time they leave third grade are more likely to be incarcerated. That is a statistic. That is something, that is a statistic, that is something that has been watched and recorded and studied. And I want to sound the alarm to parents. If you love your children, and I'm talking to all parents, but definitely the good parents, it is imperative that you work with your children before they even get to school to teach them how to write and to teach them how to read. They don't have to be fully fluent when it comes to reading, but they need to know how to sit, listen to a story being read, because that's what the other part that they're not telling you about reading. A lot of these students, and I know this because I taught my children how to read before they were even as my children. They went to school knowing how to read. They went to school knowing how to write their names, how to write our phone number. That was back in the day when we had analog phone numbers at our home, not cell phones, but still they knew how to write that. They knew how to write their names. They knew how to read. And, I did my part. Like I said, I kind of, as I always say, I'm a seeker of knowledge, and I tried. I read a report back in the day, probably over 20 years. It had to be over 20 years ago, that said that you could teach. I read a book that said that you could teach like babies how to read, and I taught my son how to read when he was like two, between the ages of 2 and 3. So I did my part, but so I know that it works. That's why I'm saying that, and I want to say, you guys, it is so, parents, it is so imperative that you start your children on the process of learning how to read before they get to school. You should be, and you don't have to do it, I understand, A lot of parents, they have to work. A lot of parents, they have other obligations, but you should be sitting down with your child to kind of have a bedtime routine or ritual, whatever you want to call it, with them, where you read books like we used to do it 20, 30 years ago. For me, 20 years ago, where you read Dr. Seuss books. And this is something that you don't even have to invest in. So there's no excuses. You can go to a library, you can check out books and use that to read. But children, toddlers, they love being able to sit and hear you speak to them and hear stories. So that's what I want to implore you parents to do. This is ridiculous where you have high school students that don't know how to read. And can you imagine what we're putting out as parents, what we're putting out into the world? Like, if you have an adult that doesn't know how to read, I mean, what do you do? Like, you are, as a person that doesn't know how to read, you are subjecting pretty much yourself to a low class job, to being taken advantage of, as far as housing. Because think about it, in any housing situation, you have to sign a contract, whether you're renting or buying. And if you can't read a contract, you are like a sheep being led to the slaughter. People are going to take advantage of that. You have to be able to protect yourself out here and be knowledgeable, and learning how to read is a part of that. So that's what I want to say. I'm going to do my part, which I already have, because like I said, when I raised my children, I taught my children how to read. I worked with them before they even hit school doors. I was working with them, but I'm going to also do my part, because it seems like there are some parents that have bought into the idea that they should allow the school system or teachers to do something that they really need to be doing, which is beginning the process of teaching your children how to read. And they have kind of forfeited that, or they have put that responsibility on someone else, and it's not being done. So I'm going to do my part and offer my services and my expertise to my community to help children learn how to read. Because that's fundamental, and that is not even something where you have to have a high IQ to do. You just need to be consistent, and it needs to be repetitive, and you need to just, like I said, repetition is what builds the vocabulary, and it's easy to do. But you just have to commit to doing it. You got to be committed to it. And children, especially at that age of 5, 6, 7, and 8, they really, if you're talking about a just your average child that doesn't have any sort of learning disabilities, they learn it very quickly. And you allow them to read up on whatever subject that they want, whatever their interest is. You keep their interest in reading by just focusing on those, or directing them to those subjects, so that they learn something. Because knowledge is power, especially if you use it properly. So that's what I want to say, you guys. We have got to get it together. And parents, you've got to put these electronics down. Do not allow your children to be on these electronics. That is diminishing, in my opinion, their creativity. That is diminishing their just life skills, by having, like, why do you need, and I've been a proponent, kind of, I'm kind of old school. And so when people start talking about all this AI, like, I started a business over a decade ago. I wrote out my business plan. I wrote out my budgets. I researched and wrote out my own operations manual for my business. And, like, I'm not the smartest person in the world, but I know how to research, and I know how to go and look at templates. You don't have to recreate the wheel. I just knew how to go and look at what was out there already, make some minor adjustments, to what I need and to use that. And it's like you have so many people that are today talking about having AI write them a business plan. Like you can't use your own brain to write out a business plan. There are thousands of templates online that give you a basic skeletal system for a business plan. You have to have a whole artificial system to write your plan. That's what I'm saying. All of this AI and electronics is really making people dumber. And think about it. Eventually, and there are people that are saying that this AI is and all this stuff is not going to be around forever. I mean, if they take it away, then what will you all who are so dependent on it? What will you all do? So I'm of the side that says I'm fine with using it. Like I use GPS at times, but I also know how to use a map and use an atlas, and I keep those skills still current. Also, I don't use it all the time, but I use it enough to where if I need to pull out my old skills, I know how to move around and get to where I need to get to, using my own brain and using a map or atlas. And those are skills that are important life skills, and people have kind of forgot, or some people have kind of forgotten that. I'm not one of those, but some people are. But I want to implore you guys, parents, stop allowing your children to be on these electronics so much. When I was coming up, the adults in my life, always used to tell us, go get a book. Go get a book. Go get a book. When I was in Upward Bound, we used to walk around in our backpacks. We used to have dictionaries. We had thesauruses. That is how you kind of support students in broadening their knowledge, broadening their horizons, is by doing things like that. But reading really is fundamental. So that's what I want to say, you guys. I don't want to make this video so long, but focus on making sure our students and your children know how to read. Look to your local library systems to see if there are resources that can help. If your children have fallen behind, you can't just leave them behind. You got to take that extra, go that extra step to get them caught back up, because they learned everything else. They can accelerate and learn, and strengthen any of the reading skills and the grammar skills that they may be lacking. So that's what I want to say. All right, guys. Happy Wednesday. I hope you guys have a great week, and that's what I wanted to drop in to say to you guys. All right, take care, guys. Namaste.